There we go. I don't know what to do for the YouTube people again because this is not a thing that I plan for.
The end of that bit of conversation made me remember that for some reason a silly little joke that I really like popped into my head the other day. So a pirate walks into a bar and he has this big ship's wheel attached to the front of his pants. Just kind of awkward. He comes up to the bar, he eases himself onto the stool. The bartender looks at him and says, that looks pretty cumbersome. Doesn't it bother you? And the pirate says, Yar, it's driving me nuts.
Boo.
Slow clap this man.
Okay, I got another pirate joke for you.
Okay.
What be a pirate's favorite letter?
C.
Dang it. You spoiled it, Brian.
Yeah.
Because I knew the answer. Was I not supposed
That's
to
why-
say the right answer?
That's why I didn't
Oh.
answer, because I wanted the joke to play out.
Yeah, see. 'Cause someone's
I'm-
supposed to go
I'm just-
R, and you go, you'd think so, but it's actually the C.
The C. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I won't get in the way. Go ahead. Retell it. No.
Oh my god. All right, there you
I'm
go,
sorry.
YouTube people. That's unfortunately what you get. I apologize. All right, here we go. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is, episode 758 of the Mana Pool, and I am Chewy. Hello. I am the leader of the dorks. I have some other dorks here, and I apologize. Dorks?
Hey, I'm Brian. I'm the lead Rambler Tangent Master of the group, and I've often been described, even though I am the third youngest of this group, as the oldest, because I'm an old soul, and not in the like, wow, he's really worldly, but in a get those damn kids off my lawn kind of way. I'm crotchety, so
He really is.
I'm gonna enjoy this conversation because it's time to take it to the youngins. Old school.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy, and as the youngest of the group, I guess I'll be the target of Brian's ire this evening.
And I'm Dirk,
Sorry.
the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I don't know how I would really consider myself. I would consider myself the person who comes across as wise and everything, but also is like, hey, let's go put a paper bag on someone's porch and light it on fire. And you know what's in the bag.
It's Republicans. So, Dirk, I always forget, which of us is older?
You are.
Oh.
Yeah,
Your
you're the
birthday's
oldest.
first.
Incorrect. Brian is the oldest.
I think we've established that, yes.
Yes. In the odds and ends, which hopefully I will post, sometime this year, Brian spent a very long time to complain that he didn't get a voucher for a movie that he didn't get to see. Even though he already had a ticket.
That was not the point of the story, and yet, at the same time,
he made
it
sure to
still
point
was.
that out.
Oh, yeah.
That is how old Brian is. So, yes, on this episode, the inspiration for this came from a couple of places, but I want to talk about evaluating older media, specifically movies, TV shows, and video games, and why you can't just judge these older pieces of media by modern standards. Like, there are circumstances, things have changed in various ways, and you can't just go, well, that's old, so it's bad. Like, I mean, you can, but then you sound like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And spoilers, we were gonna do this episode like 2 other times. I think the furthest one back was like a month and change ago. And I had this all laid out in my head then, to the point where I didn't write it down about why I wanted to do this show. Like, there were a couple of things specifically that led me to this, and now I can't remember any but one. And it's
hopefully something will jog your memory as
I'm
we get
hoping,
to talking.
But it's something I talked about on the last episode with The Legend of Zelda, and it's specifically video games and how you have to, for old games, you had to read the manual. That was the tutorial. They didn't have tutorials in games back then. And I was listening to another podcast where a dude was talking about Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo and how he got to Bowser and he couldn't figure out how to beat Bowser because at no point in the game did the game teach him that it was possible to throw things upwards. And I was
now
like,
there
it says it teaches you that in the manual.
teaches you that in the manual, and there are instances where there are blocks overhead that are too high for you to get to normally. Although I suppose you could, try to jump off a flying turtle or something, but just because it didn't spell it out for this person with like a little like, hey, here's how you do this.
Clippy pops up.
Yeah. So is there really no other point in the game where that's mandatory? Is it all just side stuff and secret stuff and optional stuff?
Apparently so. Or there are other ways around it, like, jumping off of Yoshi or something, I guess.
Probably.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I played through the entirety of Super Mario World. But, like, the manual, I looked it up. Like, I pulled up the Super Mario World manual. It's right there in the controls. It shows Mario throwing a shell straight up, and there are there's the little icons for what buttons you press to do that. And I was like, on a different show, this same person was also complaining that Super Mario Brothers 3 was like unfair hard. And I was like, what world? Mm-mm. And I think this guy is like 10 years younger than me, which is still old enough to know better, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he started gaming until later in life compared to, as a kid. But that, and there was something to do with something like I don't remember specifically what it was. Something to do with an old TV show, and people were like, "Why is it like this?" And I was like, "Because that's how." Oh my god, I don't remember specifics now, and it's really pissing me off. Mm-hmm. But hopefully it'll jog my memory. But yeah, I figured we would just talk about these 3 pieces of or forms of media and talk about how things have changed to the point where you can't just, this is old, therefore it is bad.
Yeah.
There are the complaints that people have and why that might be the way it is. Now, I will say bad is still bad regardless of how old it is. Like,
sure.
No one's going to be looking at X-Men for the NES and going, I mean, if you judge it by the standards of its time, it was still dog crap then. It is dog crap now. That game is so bad, we don't know who made it.
Nobody wants to take credit for it or take the blame.
Yeah.
Alan Smithy.
Like,
bad is bad, but there are different things between technology and culture and all that have changed over the years. So
yeah. So it's not like you can, some bad is just bad. It doesn't matter how old it is. But, you can't like, oh, well, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past is is old, therefore it is bad because it doesn't teach it. Shut up. You've already lost all credibility. Well, Citizen Kane is so slow paced. Therefore, it is a bad movie. How about Die in a Fire? Anyway. So, where should we just stick with video games since that's what kicked it off?
We can start with games. So, if we can, because you've already mentioned manuals, and I know we've talked on previous episodes about how the manual was kind of its own experience. You know, you go rent the game, and on the way, or buy the game, and on the way home, what do? You read the manual because, at least in this scenario, when we were kids, we weren't old enough to drive, so somebody else is driving, and we're like, hey, this is really cool. You learn about that. Something I want to talk about as like a subcategory, the game guide. Now, these may still exist in some form. I will admit I don't game the way I used to, but with the proliferation of the internet, I have a hard time believing that these things are as ubiquitous as they were before. But so the game guide, for those that are too young to know, was you got the game and you got the game manual and you're playing the game and you're like, I'm really lost with this. Or there were some games that were intentionally made difficult to play or had secrets that you would have to spend hundreds of hours trying all sorts of different things before you could unlock. So what the game company also did was for an extra between 20 and 40 bucks, maybe more depending on the guide, you could go to your Best Buy or Circuit City while they still existed and buy this sometimes kind of really thick with two C's booklet on a game that was not only like here's every secret explored, but here sometimes they were pieces of art. They would literally feature pieces of art. Standing out to me too that I know that I had were the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past because it had all these factoids about Hyrulean culture and stuff like that, and the Chrono Trigger guide, which was just beautiful and had outlines for like the different time streams and things like that. And so I have a hard time, and again, I'm showing my age here, kind of the point of the episode, of you don't really, I don't feel like you really see that. You see more communities now that might put something like this together as a passion project, but you don't see it the same from the company because, and again, I think the reason for that is because moving to everything's online now, everything's digital, which I'm sure will come up with a couple categories that we're going to talk about here. But I wanted to mention the game guide because it was never technically required, but for some games, it was kind of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, now we've got. Well, then we had after that it was Game Facts, and now it's just YouTube like walkthroughs. Like the business model for the strategy guide is evaporated with the advent of the internet.
Yeah.
I think the most recent game guide that I have is Fallout 4.
Wow, that's more recent than I would have expected.
Wow.
That is and it's the special edition. It's my brother got it when he got the collector's edition, whatever it was, like that came with the big figure of the armor. It came with the guide.
Nice.
So that's how I got it.
Oh, so it's kind of an art piece like Brian mentioned earlier.
But I mean, it still had a game guide, which still is. You got a bonus of having a physical copy, which physical copy I like having that in front of you is it kind of makes you feel like you're a literary person. Is like, we got to go through this part. Yeah, you could watch a guide and all that stuff, but having it in front of you where you can look and see what all the stuff is and not have to watch a video, have like two monitors going at the same time, was kind of the thing we all remember back in the day.
like over on my shelf, I can see the Prima official guide to Halo Wars, and the issue of Nintendo Power that was a strategy guide for the entire game of the original Final Fantasy.
Nice.
Awesome.
Does Nintendo Power still exist?
No.
I should. Okay. I should have done some
It
research.
is, however, archived.
Yeah, which I have bookmarked.
Thank goodness.
There were a couple my brother and I had that we would kind of use as reference books for like, okay, after we finished an area, we'd go and look up to see what secrets we missed or whatever. I remember that's what we would use the Majora's Mask book for a lot. And also the Majora's Mask guide was a really helpful supplement to help keep the Bomber's Journal straight, because it's a little hard to make sense of in game if you don't already know all the details of what you're looking at.
Save that for the next Zelda episode.
Yeah.
Because the next Zelda episode will be Link's Awakening, Ocarina, Majora's Mask. Just so everyone is aware. I don't predict we'll get past those three. But the worst example of the strategy guides trying to like adapt to the internet was Final Fantasy IX. Do you guys know about this one?
I don't know.
The Final Fantasy IX strategy
I've heard of
guide.
this horrible thing. Okay.
The Final Fantasy IX strategy guide was a physical strategy guide, but inside it were like links.
I did hear about this.
They had, well, the internet was kind of on the newish side at the time, but
so you would go to whatever site and type in whatever it told you to get the rest of the information, which is ridiculous because you bought the strategy guide. And it made a huge stink and is held up as they were trying so hard to fight the internet and the internet won.
It's both trying to fight the internet because they wanted to have a physical product, as well as being like, hey guys, we have a website. And there was a time when having a website was like a novel thing. Really showing my age with that one, but you know what I'm talking about. So
before the .com bubble burst.
Yep. I don't think I had heard that before, but that honestly jives with a lot of it. So, and as we're talking about these topics, I do want to say there are a lot of things that over the years have changed for the better. That's usually how progress works. And that's a good thing. But again, like we said, nothing that we're talking about we really want to evaluate as, oh, it's old, therefore it sucks. And honestly, I think manuals are such a good thing because it was something physically you got to own and look through. It was something you could get enjoyment out of, even almost separate and apart from the game itself. The game guides, you still kind of got that, but there was a bit of, I felt like some of them, especially for some games, it was almost like gatekeeping, where it was like, you're never going to get everything out of this game unless that you've already paid like $40 for, unless you pay us that much in monies again. I think the modern day equivalent would be DLC, which I know people have feelings on those three letters. So
yeah, with as much of the strategy guide stuff that was done by third parties, I don't know how much of it was just like purposefully locking things up behind secrets. But I know there are secrets out there where there's really no way you could have known without someone telling you details that they could not have known without like developing the game themselves.
I think it depends on the game.
They were by third parties, but most of them I think were contracted by the publishers.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And then I remember when I worked at GameStop, that was a big thing. Try to sell the strategy guide. I'm like, dude, no one wants the strategy guide. We have the internet. Well, you got to push for the strategy. Try to sell the strategy guides. All right. I think I sold a total of 2 strategy guides, and one of them I felt bad because it was to like some grandma who was picking the game up for little Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
Was it to Madden?
I don't remember.
Okay. I hope it wasn't to Madden
I
because
don't
the
think those
strategy
have
guide
strategy
would be.
guides. So
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Play the football men, run the ball down the field. I'm being oversimplistic, but I'm having fun with it. Okay. Shall we continue?
I don't know, Mike. Were you done with that?
I don't know, because we didn't really like get into why things were the way they were. In my mind, the reason why games shipped with manuals was because they were games. Like they had the precedent of
board games
and tabletop games before them. Like that's how you learned to play the game. You had this document that was like, okay, here's how you do it now, and then you start the game, and then you actually go do it. Because for very, very early games, there just wasn't enough room on the cartridge or the board to do that with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that, you'll see old arcade cabinets that have the instructions right there written on the written on the inside of the cabinet, where you can see them when you're standing there. But yeah, I think it was just because they were games, and that's how traditional games were shipped. That's how video games were shipped, and it'd be interesting to learn what the first in-game tutorials were and what the first extensive in-game tutorials were. I know it had to have been for games that were just a little too complicated to warrant the expense of the size of the manual that they would have to ship with it. There are some old computer games that I got and some of my friends got that shipped with pretty thick manuals, and that gets expensive after a while, I'm sure.
Did you ever have the manual for the original Baldur's Gate?
No.
Not only was it a manual for Baldur's Gate, it was a manual for whatever version of D&D.
Awesome.
I mean, I can see that, but
it was massive. I think Scott had it.
Do you remember what year that was?
But because that's one of the complaints. Even the modern, it's not a remake, but the modern re-release, the what's it called, enhanced edition of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, they didn't add like tutorials for anything anywhere. Just, do you know this? Good. All right, you're good. Do you know this? No. Green is good, red is bad when you're looking at stats. All right, have a party. What? That's why, like, actually, Baldur's Gate 3, I was playing that earlier today, and like the amount of tool tipping and whatnot in that game is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a button on the keyboard, it's T, and there's one for the controller too if you're playing with a controller. But you can mouse over something and it'll have a little pop-up, and it'll have things on there that you can then highlight. So you press T, and that freezes all the other menus so that you can then move your mouse down for this pop-up. It's like, what is... So, okay, if you are wearing this, it gives you 2 turns of Arcane Acuity. What the hell is Arcane Acuity? And you hit T and you just mouse over Arcane Acuity, and it's like, oh, Arcane Acuity is this. And like, oh, that would be good on my whatever guy. Okay. And it's...
That's neat.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You can get, 4 or 5 levels deep in that. Like, what? Oh, okay, that makes your whatever better. What does that mean? Hit T, go mouse over that. Oh, that controlled by your whatever. What does that mean? Hit T. Oh. It's kind of a bitch when I first got started playing, because I was like, I don't know what any of this means. But it's all there in the game. Because, Baldur's Gate 3 is an enormous game on like hard drive space wise. Size on disk, it is, it's 150 gigs, so there's room for all that. But on Super Mario Brothers on the NES, there was no story in the game. The story was in the manual.
Can we take a quick, unless anybody else has a whole lot more to say about manuals, I actually had tutorials as another section to talk about, and I feel like we butt up right against that. Do you
Yeah,
mind
I
if we
mean
talk
that's
about?
just the natural follow up to the
Mm-hmm.
manuals.
Great. So I wanted to mention like the progression of tutorials because in earlier games, and I realize Atari existed before the NES, and I played some Atari at a cousin's house, but the first system I ever owned was for the NES. So when I say early games, I want to be clear about what I'm talking about. But like, whereas you had the manual because you're talking about storage space, where were the tutorials in like the first couple Mario games? They were actually, if you didn't press a button. You remember how the game would load and you would watch Mario like run across the screen and he would jump and he would hit the block and you'd be like, "Oh, I can hit blocks from under them. And look, that mushroom turned him big and he can
Oh,
jump on the things."
the attract
Oh, the
mode.
attract
Yeah,
demo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um
Or
and then
the demo essentially.
right, for the demo, which especially like at an arcade cabinet game, yeah, the demo, you would watch like Turtles in Time, and it would show before you put a quarter in, it would show like some of the various levels, and you're like, oh man, I can play better than that Raphael all day long. But then I think they at somewhere along the line we started to see more tutorials as separate missions, and I'm thinking about while I never had the Super Scope, one of my best friends in elementary school had it, and we would play the heck out of Battle Clash, I think it was
Yep.
the AT one, and that had the here's the tutorial level sort of thing. You also had to use it for like aligning the Super Scope, but I think you start to see more games that were like here's how to learn how to do this, and then gradually we've started to see over
Hey,
the long
listen.
yeah, like Link, this is the first, and where I was going with that was instead of being a separate mission, starting to integrate the tutorial into the early game, but not like the early Mario, like, here you go, figure it out. More of the Navi. Link, here's how you lock on to this person that's hanging out on the roof of their house for some reason. Press Z to target and then press A to talk to him. So we've gone from you have to know what you're doing or read the manual or watch the little demo to the separate like little do you want to learn how to do this before we get started sort of selection from the menu to let's go ahead and get you started, but we're going to hold your hand for a little while. And the extent of that is of course determined by the game. um, there are parodies I see online of like what if they made Ocarina of Time but they made it like a modern game, and like every 5 seconds something is popping up on the screen to tell you, use a key to get through the little locks. There's a key in that chest over there. You should go, that sort of like
Wasn't that
bombarding your senses.
essentially how Skyward Sword was? I seem to remember that Skyward Sword just never stopped giving you the tutorial crap
It
throughout the
felt
entire game.
it felt that way at first. As you went along, it kind of eased up, but it was a bit persistent, and like especially in combat, your assistant Fee would be like throwing stuff at you, and you could ignore her, but you kind of had to ignore her, which was a pain in the butt. So yes, but I also think as the internet does, it was also blown out of proportion. So
What? When has the internet ever blown in? Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, the
Couldn't finish that
tutorials
sentence,
have
could you?
but tutorials have definitely undergone a big change over the years, over the centuries, whatnot.
true. To the point where some developers have figured it out, and they're slickly integrated. Like I'm thinking of Hitman. Uh, Hitman 2016 has essentially Agent 47's training mission, and it's the tutorial, but it's how it's his final test to pass to become an official assassin, and it's
Mm-hmm.
teaching you the mechanics and whatnot. Sometimes a little pop up will be like, "Hey, do this to do that." No, and others you just need to figure out. And That one's really good. And then there's stuff like the modern God of War games where you get to a puzzle and you go, okay, here's a puzzle. Oh, I think, and the character will be like, hey, why don't you try? Here's the solution. You're like, why don't you shut the...
Oh.
So sometimes they still miss, but that's modern games. We're not talking about modern games.
No,
And
I just wanted to
also-
use that as a discussion of how we got here. But yeah,
Yeah. And also, like, as Last just said in the chat, modern games have gotten insanely more complicated than old games. Like, the NES had
that
two
is
buttons.
very true.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
Mario
you had
could run and jump. And
Yeah.
if you had a fire flower, the run button also made you shoot fireballs. That was what you could do. That was all you could do. You could run and jump, shoot fireballs. And now, like, modern controllers, well, hang on, I don't have a controller handy. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, sometimes 10. There's like 12 buttons. Sometimes more if you've got the back paddles and all that. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, so you can't, going back to the original premise here, you can't complain that the game didn't teach you how to do stuff if you didn't read the damn manual, because that was part of the expectation from the
That was
developers.
part of the game. Like, that was part of the game that you got in the box.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then occasionally, the manual is actually, like what they're saying, is required to play the game. There was literally a game where if you didn't have the manual, you were stuck. You literally could not progress through the game.
Star Tropics.
Star Tropics. Where if you literally didn't have the manual, you could not progress to the game.
Yep.
And I know we've talked about this one before.
We have.
Was it a copy protection thing?
No.
I think so.
Or was
Well-
it just a completely inscrutable mechanic?
You
It's
had to dip it in
because-
water. It wasn't the manual. It
Yeah.
was another thing that came with the game. But you had to dip it
You
in
gotta-
water, and it would reveal something that you needed to progress.
You got a note from your kidnapped uncle included on a piece of paper with the manual. And after you beat the first level, the Rob robot, who is definitely patterned after the Rob robot of Nintendo, says, "Hey, dip that letter in water. It'll give you the code, and then you input the code to go to level 2." The good news for the age of the internet is they were not specific to the cartridge. It was one code. So if you know it, you're good. But if you didn't have a way to find it before the internet and you rented the game and it didn't include the note, or if you just didn't keep track of it, you could be lost. And I think later in the game it even told you to then, like, shine up to the light or something, and there was another code on it. I might not be remembering that exactly correctly, though. But
I don't think so.
yeah.
At least
I'm probably
not
just
for
making
Star
that up.
Tropics.
So yeah, they expected you to learn the game from the game either through the manual or through playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is how I remember playing a lot of games was, all right, let me do this button. And even, like, I was playing, what was I playing today? I have to pull up. I was playing some. I'm going, okay, let me refresh myself. Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, oh, let me do this one. Okay, this one button does this. Okay, this one does this. Okay, let me do this button. This one does. I was also playing Battlefront 2 for Star Wars, and so I'm just going, okay, let me go through. This button does this. So I think some people nowadays kind of expect there to be the tutorial or the thing is like, push this button to do this, whereas video games, some old, I mean, near the 7 is like what, 20 years old.
You
They
wish.
kind of have the expectation that you're gonna figure out these controllers.
Try 30. I'm not kidding. Like 1996, right?
It's
Yeah.
97.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right. 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So But yeah, there was an expectation that you're going to click these buttons, figure out what all these buttons do.
And another thing, I think I said this on the Zelda episode too. Modern games, by and large, are meant to be beaten. Like a lot of people don't. Like you can tell just from looking at like achievement percentages. A lot of people don't finish the games they start. But the developer pretty much expects anyone who wants to beat the game to beat the game. That was not the case for old video games. Like you had your 3 lives and 3 continues, and if you can't do it in that, sucks to be you. Like,
yeah, get good, scrub.
Yeah.
Looking at you, ghouls and goblins, or ghosts and goblins, or whatever it was.
There you go. Ghouls and ghosts and goblins.
Either way, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it drives me up the wall to hear people say, well, it's too hard. How long did you play it? Like 5 minutes. Well, yeah, of course it's too hard.
Yeah.
Like, again, games that are unfair hard are always unfair hard. Like, you know, if they're hard because the controls are bad, or because it's so unclear what you're supposed to do, that how am I ever supposed to figure that out? It doesn't say anything in the manual, blah, blah, blah. You know, there are plenty of examples of those types of games.
Yeah.
Though that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about games that are, you know, like dude that said that Super Mario 3 was unfair hard. Like, have you ever played a Nintendo game before? That is one of the best. And yeah, it's hard. It's called Nintendo hard because you have your 3 lives and 3 continues or whatever, and that's what you get. And if you can't beat it in that, you'll start over. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Again,
it's unforgiving. It's like if you mess up, the game's response is, "Well, you should have done it right." Try again.
Do you know how?
Hopefully, you'll get better.
Do you know how Mario gains levels? He gains levels as the player actually gains experience playing the game. You're like, I can't do this jump. 50 times later, oh yeah, that jump doesn't give me trouble anymore. It's this new jump here that's the problem. You get better. You figure things out. The first time I ever rented the original Final Fantasy, I don't think it came with the manual. I don't know if I complained. I feel like I've complained to you guys about this before, but so I don't have the manual. I go and I buy some white magic spells. Again, first Final Fantasy. I fight some enemies. I'm like, I need to heal. I cast the spell heal, and it doesn't do anything. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And then later, I'm poisoned. I'm like, what do I do to poison? I need to cure it. I will cure it. And then I regained hit points. And I'm like, what? To me, the meaning of the English meaning of those words was flipped. Because you heal from a wound and you cure a disease. And to this day, I still just can't quite let it go. I know Kiraga, Kiraja, I get it. But you know what I did? I tried it both ways, and then when I figured it out, I never had made that mistake, maybe once. But otherwise, I never made that mistake again because I learned the game. I mean, and I didn't go online and...
In the first Final Fantasy, heal didn't do that either. It just healed all the party members a teeny bit.
Did it?
I don't remember what was the poison spell in FF1, but it had a dumb name. Oh, it's called Pure. Yeah, there we go.
Pure. Okay.
Same as the potion. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, what you're saying applies if you don't have because Final Fantasy 1 didn't tell you what spells did, because there's no room on the cartridge to tell you what spells did.
No.
That's what the manual's
Another thing they didn't do, and I will say to be fair, this is an improvement, is they didn't always tell you, or they were not always clear about what items increased your stats. At least not without unequipping the old one, seeing what equipping the old one, okay, the strength is 76. Unequipping it, equipping the new one, oh, the one I just bought is not as strong.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that
And
was
that's not even
quality of life stuff that came
yeah.
eventually as the genre progressed. And that's another thing is genres for old games like were old. They hadn't figured everything out yet. Like
True.
Yeah.
They're trying this stuff for the first time.
yeah, and while it is a valid complaint that I don't know what gear is better than other gear, true, but that doesn't make the game bad. Like nobody
No.
knew back then, and this game still sold 1 billion copies or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not that it's bad. It's just that nowadays these games spoon feed you everything, which in some cases, that's really good. Like that, more information is more better. But you know, they hadn't figured out one, how to do that, and two, how to show it to the player in a way that made sense quickly. By the time we get to the Super Nintendo era, you know, there's more room on the cartridge, there's more room on the screen. Oh, look, we can change the color of the font or put a little arrow above it or below it. You know, hey,
This dude's dancing because he can equip it.
exactly.
He's super excited. He's like, I want that dagger. Yeah. So
like if that bothers you about, you know, the NES versions of like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, then play the pixel remasters instead.
yeah, because again, and this we're not harshing on the old stuff. There are quality of life improvements. I had listed on here save points because anybody that has played, I don't know, the original Final Fantasy 3, the Japanese one, not 6 ported, and the Crystal Tower will tell you that that game is absolutely horrible. There's the last dungeon in the game. The last 3 dungeons of the game are a point of no return, and it's horrible. It is not good game design. But all it takes is some quality of life improvement, like with the pixel remasters, where you get saves either as you move, you can just quick save, or you can, or there's more save points or anything, or those sorts of issues are addressed. I don't think the addition of save points in dungeons was done deliberately because they're like, hey, this tells you maybe the boss is coming up, or we intend for you to fight through all of these mobs to weaken you before you get to the boss. So it's a little bit of hand-holding now, but it's one I can kind of get behind as a quality of life improvement, because how much does it suck to lose literally 45 minutes of gameplay to an oops, I died. That is not a feel good. So
yeah, that's another difference. Modern developers, they don't want you to feel bad, to get that class. Whereas back in the day, they didn't care.
yeah,
because that's just what playing games was. If you didn't do it right, you died.
I mean, a lot of games were made with the rental mentality of, we don't want somebody to rent this game and finish it in a weekend. We want them to rent the game again.
Well,
one of the things that goes with that is we're talking about the save points. Is not just save points, but also was it like the quick saves and stuff of that sort? That is not something from back in the day.
No, it's not.
I was playing Star Wars Rebellion, and if you actively are not saving every now and then if or when the game crashes, it will revert to when you literally last saved. So if last saved was 2 hours ago, you are essentially replaying 2 hours. You lost 2 hours of your time, and you have to start all over with that. Yeah. That's most new games don't have that.
And all of us who have gone back to play an older game have forgotten that manual saves are all we've got, and lost massive chunks of gameplay and gone, Well, now I remember that forever because it only has to happen once.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of games recently, like in the past 5 years, that I was like, oh, I want to play this game, and then forgot that, and it was enough that I'm just going, do I want to redo that, or do I want to go play something else? And ended up uninstalling the game because I was like, I do not want to go back and replay 5 hours of my life.
All right, if you went 5 hours without saving, that's your own damn fault.
That's yeah. Although
Well,
again, there's some areas.
On that one.
Well,
I think the longest was an hour and a half. And again, it was Star Wars Rebellion. Because again, it's an old enough game. It's so funny loading it on my computer because it still loads, it still plays, but I think it takes all of about between 5 and 15 minutes to load from Steam onto my computer because I think it's 300 megabytes. Like it's not a big game.
I mean, 300
but it's
megabytes
also a very
to install
simple,
should
straightforward game.
Take like a minute and a half, if that.
There are times when Steam just is like, nope, we're doing this slow. We gotta make sure we gotta make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's to make sure this thing is loaded right. So sometimes it does that. But anyway, yeah, it's again, it's a very simple, straightforward game that again has none of those features of quick saves or after so many turns or so many minutes. I think Skyrim and Fallout 4 have sort of the same thing where if you go into a village or you enter a house, it'll save you moving in.
Yeah,
but if you're in the overworld,
anytime you cross a loading zone, it auto saves.
Mm-hmm. But there have been times I've been out in the overworld for 40 minutes or so, just like I'm gonna go find places and do that, and then something killed me, and it was like, nope, you're back at this place, and all 30 things you discover that you are walking around and discovering, gotta go find them again.
Yeah, back when Renee was playing Fallout 4 heavily, I remember being back here streaming and just suddenly hearing a string of curses. And being like, Chad, I'll be right back, and run out there. What happened? She's like, I died and I hadn't saved, and the last time it auto-saved was 2 hours ago. Oh, I did so much. I'm like, oh, that sucks for you. Okay, bye.
I will say, playing the HD 2D remakes of the first 3 Dragon Quest games, that is definitely a quality of life improvement where after every battle, it auto-saves. And granted, if that puts you in a bad position where you're stuck in a dungeon and you have no MP to get out or whatever, you may just want to go back to your actual save file. But having it auto-save every time you go up or down a flight of stairs and after every battle is such... Because those games, I'll tell you what, especially Dragon Quest 1, where you are still in a party of you, yourself, and just you, not even that other guy, it's punishing. There are times where I was dying like 4 out of 5 battles, but I would slowly level up to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm not dying anymore, to the point that I'm like, I kick all these monsters butts in this area, and I move on to the next one, I start dying again. But so that was a quality of life feature that needed to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Those are kind of my notes on video games.
Yeah, what else? Do we have anything else for games? I mean, there's a lot we could talk about. You can't. Oh, these graphics are bad, so this game is dumb. Like, no, it's not that it's bad; it's that you don't like it. There's a difference.
The one that it's a very recent thing, but it's been a slow, gradual thing. But it's with the news of the PS, I guess it was the PS6, with the shift towards digital ownership. They are kind of moving away from physical games and more into digital games. That's been one that's been a shift for me, and it's not one that um, I can see the benefit of moving it digital, but there's also the other side of no, physical media is much better.
I
Because
mean,
with the virtual, it doesn't take up space
in your house.
Yeah, like I don't
physical
have to
space,
keep
yeah.
boxes and boxes, and like I still have all the physical games from like my PlayStation 2 and all that stuff, and they're in a CD folder, a CD binder.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't take up. I mean, they take up space, but my Steam library, I've got tons of games on it. You know how much space they take up? 0.
Not none.
I don't take up any space other than when I download them onto my computer. So there is the benefit of the digital and everything, but the thing that I don't like is for whatever reason, if Steam decides, oh well, your account got this, we're gonna close your account. Well, all my games disappear. I don't own the games. I am licensing.
Let me stop. I don't think this is relevant to the actual topic we're discussing here.
Okay. So
yeah, that's a
it's
whole other can of worms.
Yeah. So one that we can be like, old crotchety men, complaining about new stuff, but that's one of those things.
Yeah, well, that is a thing that's changed that has its own issues, both positives and negatives. It is not evaluating old media. So let's move on.
Yeah.
You guys want to do film or television?
Yes.
I hate you.
How about
television?
Okay.
You're welcome.
So, a thing, and I think last, actually, in the chat, was talking to the kids that I took to, well, it was Carowinds, but yeah, talking to the kids that I took to Carowinds about old cartoons is the other thing that spawned this topic. Yes. I don't remember which batch it is. I don't remember if it was Sam and Cheese or the kid and the other two. But something about old cartoons came up. And they were like, I mean, old cartoons are so stupid. And I was like, excuse me? And nothing ever happened. I was like, what do you mean nothing ever happened? They're like, nothing that mattered happened. There was no story. Like, I don't remember if it had, if it was with Sam and Cheese, it was probably DuckTales. Because I know DuckTales came up at least once or twice while we were there. But I think it was with the other group. And I don't remember specifically what it was that we were talking about. But I was like, yeah, because there... so let's get into it. Modern... Let's go with cartoons. Like the new DuckTales has a storyline that runs through it. Right, Brian?
It's correct. Like characters grow and learn and change. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the original DuckTales, not really anything changed. Like new characters would get introduced, maybe. Roboduck. But if I remember correctly, when Roboduck was introduced, it was like a multi-episode, it was like a mini movie essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wanted you, and they hyped it as, hey, you've got to watch this because this is important because this is something's going to change. And it's because DuckTales was like an after-school cartoon. It came on, it was in syndication, it came on after school. Not every kid was going to see every episode, and they didn't want people to be lost. And that's how pretty much all television was back in the day. There were, shows that actually had storylines that ran through them, but there were a whole lot that didn't, especially cartoons, because cartoons, especially when we were kids, were just toy commercials.
Coyote will never actually catch the Roadrunner. Daffy Duck will never really outsmart Bugs, not for real anyway. Just thinking of Looney Tunes in particular, but every episode, Marvin Martian might blow up the world and they'll turn out to be like a just kidding sort of thing. Everything resets at the end of the episode to where it started so that every single one is self-contained.
Well, the Looney Tunes is a different thing entirely because those were theatrical shorts that came out years apart, or months apart.
Yeah, and it's because that was the original concept. They were little featurettes played before a movie, so they're not something that's going to air until only number one because you didn't have a television in your house. They're just not something that's going to air episodically, so you can't have a thread running through them because people just aren't going to watch them that way. And that sensibility was just used for cartoons for a long time. I have read, anecdotal stuff about when Speed Racer started airing in the United States. Their parents complaining about it because their kids would complain about being home in time to see the next episode because there was a persistent story that was told in a specific order that
really
you had to, Speed Racer had a persistent story. It wasn't one-off episodes. It had a persistent story that was told through the episodes, and kids would get upset if they missed something and would bug their parents to death about it. So the parents would get upset. And it was this new thing that wasn't really, it wasn't a thing yet in American animated television.
Huh. I did not know that about Speed Racer specifically.
Yeah.
But, the status quo, you had to get back to it at the end of every episode because that's just how it was. Everything started from point A, and at the end of the episode, you're at point A, and then the next episode, you're at point A. Because there was no way of knowing which kids are going to see these shows and when, how many they're going to see. So having storylines, if a kid tuned in and went, I don't know what's going on, then they would not watch that show anymore because kids are fickle little twerps. So they just didn't do that. And also, these things aired on television and then they were gone.
Yeah, lots of television shows just weren't preserved.
Like, the syndicated stuff would eventually have reruns, but who knows how many months it'll be until that episode you missed airs again, and you won't know unless you really study TV Guide.
And there were some that would show up on, collections and videotapes that you could get, but you didn't know.
Yeah. Like, they didn't have, full seasons of whatever show on VHS. That wasn't a thing pretty much until DVD. Like, some of the really big shows would get seasons on VHS or select episodes on VHS. But only the really big shows. I think. I was also, during the VHS era, I was young at the time and didn't pay attention to that sort of thing. But I know, you could get Seinfeld on VHS. Oh, yeah. Last said my sister had Friends episode collections on VHS. Yeah, but were they episode collections or were they, pieces of seasons? We don't know. He might. But these things weren't meant to be archived and binged watched. That word didn't exist until Netflix.
Yeah.
They were just entertainment. They were thrown out there. Movies, before VHS, movies were played, and then they might get a re-release a while later. They might get multiple re-releases over the years if, it was a Disney cartoon movie. But...
Well, and that was Disney's thing, is that, yeah, they would re-release the classics and so on. You also had some holidays would come along and they would syndicate some of the shows, like The Wizard of Oz would come on. Was it Thanksgiving?
There were some stations that did stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, the annual showing of this classic movie and so forth, and that's kind of how they. I think.
I remember sitting and watching the 10 Commandments on TV every year.
Mm-hmm.
Cookies. Thank you. Yeah, you had your yearly specials, that sort of thing would show up, but like your regular run-of-the-mill TV shows, no. And so that's why they seem kind of pointless to young people today. Well, nothing ever happens. Well, yeah, that wasn't... You didn't watch them to see, how the story progressed. You watch them to see what sort of shenanigans, Launchpad got up to this episode.
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck wasn't actually cleaning up. Oh no, what was the name of his city?
Saint Canard.
Thank you. I was like Saint something.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't actually cleaning up Saint Canard, and you could see it happening in real time. It was just there's a different supervillain every week, and then or every episode, and then next week there was a different one. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And even last earlier said, let's talk about MASH. Even shows like that, which are much more serious dramas, they didn't have an ongoing story.
No. The only thing they had that you could say about that was when characters would come and go for extended periods of time. Like that was the only persistent changes that would happen if an actor left the show for whatever reason, or a new actor showed up. That's
exactly. And then they had to write some reason for such and such left. Like, I remember it being a big deal when the original CO left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he died in a helicopter crash. Like, I think it was at the end of the episode after, he left. Radar comes in and reads their report about what happened. The helicopter was struck by whatever and spun in.
Yeah.
And, that was a huge deal because that was a thing that happened that would have consequences.
Right.
But other than that, it was still status quo. And this was a big, serious, popular show. Because that's how TV was back then.
Gilligan was never going to actually make it off the island. And they weren't going to kill off the professor because he's the professor. If he drowned, then it would be like, holy crap. But now you have shows where, Gilligan's Island Told Today would have at least 3 more people specifically so that they could kill them off over the course of the first season.
Yes.
I had in here a note about interconnected universes where you have shows I don't know if there was ever a spin-off of MASH, but Cheers.
There was.
You had
it's called
Frasier.
Aftermath. It didn't last very long.
Okay, it didn't.
No.
So, was there a spin-off of Happy Days?
Johnny
Loves
Loves
Chachi.
Chachi
I know
was
Mork and Mindy was. Mork and Mindy is connected to Happy Days. Johnny Loves Chachi spun off from Happy Days.
So this is something clearly that has been happening for a while, but I think it's gotten a lot more attention in like the 80s and 90s. I'm thinking about, it's kind of ramped up a bit. Buffy, and then Angel is the spinoff of that. Not even getting into the MCU and all that sort of stuff now, and like how Disney Plus has like, oh, you like Star Wars? Here's all the recommended everything for Star Wars. So that's now. But even then, you had a base show, and if the show was doing well, you might have a spinoff or two. Friends,
Yeah,
Friends,
if there was a
Friends,
particular popular character. Did
Friends
the
was
Jeffersons spin off from All in the Family? Sorry, Brian, for interrupting.
No, you're good.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Friends was one of the most popular sitcoms of all time for a lot of its 10 years. And then they had the show about Joey, which I think lasted a season, half
I
a
think it
season,
lasted
something.
a season.
Yeah, not
If
very
it
long.
if it didn't get canceled early.
Yeah. So there was definitely an expectation of like, oh, this first one was popular, but
Oh,
maybe the spinoff is just to get a little more.
it lasted one and a part of a season.
It made it over a season. Okay.
Yeah, amazing.
But like Cheers and Frasier lasted quite a while.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Cheers. Hang on. Cheers lasted for 11 years. And then Frasier picked up and lasted another 11 years.
Wow.
Wait,
I only saw
no.
like a couple episodes of Cheers, but I've seen a lot more Frasier.
Yeah, Cheers started in 1982 and Frasier ended in 2004. So like, Kelsey Grammer, I don't think he showed up in the if he showed up in the first season of Cheers, he was a bit character, but I think he was definitely there in the second season. So he was playing Frasier for like 20 years. Pretty much nonstop.
That's why it's so weird to see him doing anything else.
Yeah. When Kelsey Grammer was Beast, I was like, excuse me? Like, it's like I can see it, but at the same time, I can't see it. But yeah, that was another thing, was the spinoff. Mike said, didn't the Jeffersons spin off from All in the Family? And yeah. And that's just because they had to fill the time with something. So if audiences reacted well to a character, then was it All in the Family? Oh my god, All in the Family. What? Okay, listen to this. All in the Family spun off Maude,
Oh,
The Jeffersons, Archie Bunker's Place, Gloria, and 704 Hauser. That last one,
okay.
the last two I've never even heard of.
Yeah, those sound like little small flash in the pan things. Like I know there were a couple of very very short-lived Sanford and Son spin-offs that didn't really get much of anywhere.
Ooh, let's look. Now I'm curious. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Grady, Sanford Arms, and Sanford
Yeah.
were 3 spin-off shows from Sanford and Son. Weird. But anyway, yeah, that's how it worked. They would, if audiences reacted well, then maybe they'll get their own show and maybe it'll take off. Like freaking Family Matters. Is a spinoff from
Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, Carl and Harriet were popular side characters in Perfect Strangers. They ended up spinning off into their own show. I think Harriet made the first of the appearances.
I think so.
And then you also had, because they were under, was it like ABC, that they would have crossovers between the series that weren't spin-offs, but they were crossovers where like Urkel would stop by the Full House crew or something like that.
Oh yeah.
They did some of those, yeah.
Man, I think we have gotten off topic again, but it's fun to talk
Yeah,
about.
I think I kind of did that a little bit. My apologies. I just wanted to kind of bring it up as a concept, the thought of like, hey, spin-offs, which clearly are not something that's limited to the past. It's something that has existed for a while, and it's a question more for the group of like, have they really changed, or we think that they're pretty much going along at the same rate? I feel like nowadays and this goes into discussion about movies as well, but there's more of a push for interconnected universes. You can't just have one thing. If it's successful, then it has to become the basis for something else. Think about how many franchises have tried to start a cinematic universe. DC tried it, didn't work very well because they rushed it. Universal was
And
going to
it wasn't
do
very
their
good.
DC. Universal was going to do their Dark Universe, and again, not great because Marvel kind of took its time and everybody else wanted to jump on the bandwagon. But now you can't just have a concept, you have to then brand the concept. And I feel like that still existed when we were younger, but maybe it wasn't so in your face. Or it felt more compartmentalized. What do you guys think?
I think we
Um,
were just younger and didn't pay as much attention.
yeah, that's part of it. There might be more nowadays that are set up with that long-term plan in mind. It's like, okay, if this is good, then we already have, if this is popular, then we already have plans to take this piece and that piece and do our own things with it and grow the franchise even more. Back then, I feel it was just more of a response. It's like, hey, we still have some of these, like maybe even getting towards the end of a show. Hey, we still have some of these characters. Let's see if we can do another show that people will want to watch. Like that was what Aftermath was doing. That was what the stuff that came after Happy Days was doing. That's why after Three's Company was over, The Ropers was on TV for not very long.
Did anyone care about the Ropers? Like, who thought that was gonna be a good idea?
I had someone at the studio. I don't know.
Hmm. Anyway.
But yeah, that one, those old ones were a lot more just reactionary. It's probably the best word to use there. There are much more things done today with a long-term plan in the background to exploit that if they can.
Yeah, like it's always been about money, but these days it's more blatantly about squeezing money than, hey, let's try it and see if we can make it last. It's like, get all the money you can from these suckers now. Also, another thing is old shows are paced kind of weird because there were commercial breaks. That's a thing that like kids today don't think of. Is why did it just go, oh my god, is this something gonna happen? And then a second later go, no, nothing happened. And they do it every episode. I'm like, that was a commercial break. Like, there was gonna be 5 minutes or so, and they wanted you to come back, plant your ass in the seat, and finish this episode.
Yeah.
So they had to go, oh, nothing.
We
Do
are
something to
watching.
keep your attention while you run off while a commercial's on. You run off and do something. It's like, we want you to come back.
Yeah, go to the
Don't go
bathroom, make a
anywhere.
sandwich, whatever, grab some ice cream, but come back.
And I
We
know
are
if my brother and I, if one of us would usually stay in the living room and the other would hear, the show's back on.
It's back on. Yep, that was me. I'd be like, Mom. She's like, I'm coming.
We are watching season 1 of Heroes with Sam, and I'm determined to just watch season 1 because
Yeah.
season 2 and later are bleh. But yeah, we were watching an episode earlier, and there's a scene where somebody gets shot, and it's like, no, and their mother runs over to them, and they're like, how could you do that? And then black screen, and then like half a second later, it replays the mom going, no, running over, how could you do, and like, yeah, commercial break just doesn't play as well when you see that that suspenseful moment
Mm-hmm.
twice, but they had to remind you of it when you've been at commercials for like 3 minutes. So, yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is if old TV shows seem, especially the ones that did have like an ongoing story or a specific setup that you had to understand to know what was going on with the show, uh, they seem kind of plotting and over explaining. It's because there was a week or more between episodes. It wasn't just play next.
Yeah, if it wasn't something that aired multiple times a week, like late morning or afternoon soaps, it was weekly.
Yeah, and if there was a season break, then unless you caught the rerun of the season finale before the next season started, then they would have to do like a recap. Or, as you know, somehow Palpatine returned. Oh, wait, no.
That happened. I think that was the one thing that annoyed me about watching Gundam Wing, and that's one of the things. Someone that wrote articles that one of the annoying things about some of these older animes is, um, they would waste an episode as a recap episode of up to here's what's happened up to this point, and you just been it was like, okay, yeah, I've been loyally watching this, but I have to sit through this because at the very end they do a little bit of like we're going to tease what's coming up soon sort of thing, but you have to watch 90% of this thing that's just a recap, and it's incredibly annoying to have to sit there and watch for 30 seconds of a little behind the scenes reveal of something sinister that's about to happen sort of thing.
So
Yeah,
was that
for some of
a
those
side
things with
effect
like
of
really
moving
long.
it from
Sorry.
Japan to America, or what?
Do what?
I said, was that a
Are
side
those
effect
things?
of moving it from Japan to America, or what?
I honestly I don't know why they were doing it. I think it was for shows that were story driven, that they felt like they probably had to have a recap episode. I just don't remember Dragon Ball Z doing it.
That's because
Although
they
I
did it
could,
every week.
Yeah,
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
that is true.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
That still killed me. It was like the planet will blow up in 5 minutes, and then you watch a 30-minute episode. The planet will blow up in 4 minutes, and you're going, "Oh no! Please
Hold
tell
on.
me that we're not going to be 1 minute this whole week, and on Friday is when the planet finally blows up.
No.
Please
We're gonna
tell us what's going to happen."
we're gonna Oh, sorry. We're gonna get down to 2 minutes, and then we're gonna start yelling at each other as we power up. I can yell louder than you. Yeah. This isn't even my final form.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not yelling all the way yet.
2 minutes left. Oh, see my final form. And going, really? We got 2 minutes to do this?
I've been holding back this whole time.
So another thing about TV, when I asked the teenagers in the Carowinds group chats, one of the things I got about television was they talk too much about stuff that doesn't matter, and then everything happens at the end.
That is
And I was like, yes,
accurate.
That's because they wanted you to stay there for the whole episode. Like, that is, now that's not excusing it. Like, episodes of a TV show should be, entertaining the whole way through. But this is also, a hyperactive, let's see, he's either 14 or 15-year-old. So, who has the attention span of, oh, what? So, when he was like, yeah, they talk too much about stuff that doesn't matter, and then everything happens at the end. I'm like, well, that's probably exaggerated, but also that's a nature that's part of that is the nature of the beast back then, is because they couldn't have the revelation in the middle of the episode because you might go, oh, and go watch something else.
Yeah, that's just writing conventions for the rising and falling action. And
Yeah,
I was about to say that too, that's how you do it. And because everything was syndicated and it would just be in random order or not in order or whatever, you couldn't really do, this thing's going to cause everything forward to be different some way, because who knows if that was going to actually be how it aired. So there was the whole, that's my thing was, episode of the week sort of thing, like in Star Trek, The Next Generation. You can always tell when it's an older season and when it's a newer season, because Tasha Yar was only in the first season, and the suits, the uniforms changed, I think, in the third season. Yep. And then when they got to like the 6th or 7th season, they changed again. So depending on what uniform they're wearing, you'd be like, oh, this is somewhere in the middle, or oh, this is old sort of thing, depending on who's there. But the story beats were essentially the same throughout. There wasn't a significant change in the story. It wasn't until you had like those really big episodes where something major happened and they really were pushing, you really need to see this. And then now that everyone had seen it, all right, now everything will refer to this one thing, this one pivotal event, like when Picard was assimilated by the Borg.
Yeah.
The best of both worlds. There are tons of callbacks to it afterwards, because it was such a big hyped up thing in The Next Generation. I do like, though, that, and I think that was probably something else too, was the budget that a lot of these shows were under, where especially sci-fi shows, that there was this constant reusing of old special effects.
Oh yeah.
So, if we were blowing up this ship, well, that same model's going to get blown up 5 different times across the entire series, because the budget was not, we couldn't really pay to have that whole thing done 20 times so we could have 20 different pictures of it. It was a one shot to do this thing. And that again was something that was talked about with Gundam Wing, was they constantly reused the same animation over and over and over.
Yep.
And that's also true for old cartoons like Scooby-Doo,
He-Man,
the Flintstones. Mm-hmm. That is the same animation over and over. They just took the animation, they put it on a rolling background, and they just rolled the background.
Hell, even Disney movies did that. Like
Disney was really big on that.
But I mean, even in the movies, like, it was just a well-known time-saving thing. If the animation is there and it's good, then just have the paint crew paint different characters over those same animation drawings, and there you go. We've just saved a bunch of time and money.
Yep.
And nowadays, the kid, I've seen like Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts about, look, Disney reused this animation. Can you believe it? And I'm like, yeah, because why wouldn't they? Those movies were like 10 years apart. No one is going to notice until they came home, and back then that wasn't a thing. Like, you didn't have Robin Hood and The Jungle Book back to back. Like, those were, if you saw them, they were in theaters until VHS happened. And, when I was a kid, I noticed. I was like, hey, Baloo and Lil Jon do similar things in these movies. Yeah. That's really cool. Like, I felt clever for figuring it out.
The artists were, it was the same art. The artist just wanted, he really enjoyed doing the animation. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and especially with TV, streaming changed so much. Like, just so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you weren't supposed to have access to everything to be able to watch them one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. I've watched the entirety of Cheers twice over the years because I love that show. And it's not right. Like, you're not supposed to hear Norm like 18 times in one night. You're just not.
Yeah, to do that before streaming services, you would have to be a really, like, super serious hobbyist to have found a way to collect all that stuff and be able to sit in your home and watch it.
Yeah, and that's why a bunch of stuff just doesn't make sense to a modern young people audience, because it's not, you weren't supposed to do it that way. It's so weird that I can just go watch Cheer. Like, in the odds and ends, I told Renee about some bad Indian racism in an episode of Green Acres, and later we're probably gonna go out, pull it up, and just watch that episode. That's insane. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Also, we haven't really mentioned it, but it's just understood that the cultural shifts have happened.
Yeah.
Like, we're not gonna go into that, but
that's, like you said, that's understood.
Yeah, like, from the blackface and racist depictions of Indians and this and that and the other, all the way up to like the R slur and the F slur in shows from the 90s. Like, you can't do that anymore. Although
they were never cool, but there were times when they happened to be socially acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, they were still wrong. Like, when they released the Golden Collection of the Looney Tunes, the first one actually had I think it was Whoopi Goldberg come out and say, "Look, we've left these cartoons as is in this collection because we think it's important, but it was wrong then and it's wrong now. But these are pieces of art and they were in the art, so we're leaving them there, but we want everyone to be aware." And I think that's the right way to do it. I think judging modern stuff or old stuff when cultural norms were completely different by modern standards and saying, well, those are bad, that you need more nuance than that. Like, I get that you don't like it if in an old gangster movie they could just backhand a woman. I get it. Like, that's not kosher, but like, it was just what they did in movies back then. So like, if you're gonna stop right there because of that, maybe you don't need to be trying to watch old stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for things like that, it's just like people were just kind of crueler in general.
Yeah, people were,
and they thought it was fine for some reason.
Yeah. For the best version of that, you need to watch Airplane, where it gets made fun of, where the woman is hysterical and someone's like, "Get a hold of yourself," and slaps her, and then another person comes like, no, let me handle this. "Get a hold of yourself," and slaps her, and then it pans, the camera pans, and you see like a line of people each holding like implements to hit her with. Like, see, that's funny because it's making fun of the dumb trope.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're watching through, this is not meant to be aimed specifically at Mycroft, but if you're watching Green Acres, which is from, it's the 60s, right? Yeah, 65 to 71. Right. If you're watching a show from the 60s and you come across an episode where there's a racial stereotype that is just not accepted these days, and that makes you like mad and want to quit watching the show, maybe you shouldn't have been watching the show in the first place, because you're gonna run across stuff like that. Sorry. Like, it's bad, but proclaiming this is wrong. I mean, yeah, but it's still already in the... saying this is wrong isn't... No one cares if you protest Green Acres. Like, again, this is not aimed at you specifically, my crowd. I'm just using this as the example because it's the one I got. But anyway. For something that I wasn't going to talk about, we talked about it slightly more than I meant to, but it's part of the topic at hand, you know. Like I said to the dorks earlier, in the original version of Ocean's 11, which is not a good movie, and you shouldn't watch it, you know, several members of the Rat Pack are in a dump truck with Sammy Davis Jr., who I would like to remind you was a black man, and they're putting on blackface in the truck cab next to him. That's not why the movie is bad. The movie is bad because the movie's bad. But they were some of the most famous people in the world. And it cuts over to Sammy, and he's just looking at him and like shaking his head and laughing while he's the one driving the truck. Anyway. Should we go to movies? Do we have more for TV? Cough, die.
We probably could.
I do have on here what my note said: Wayne's World level of product placement, where it felt like they were a little more obvious in the past. It still exists now. It definitely does. Hey, let's all, drink some delicious Coca-Cola. But it seemed, from TV shows I would see back in the day, a little more obvious. But I think that's probably, depends on the show.
So. And if you go back far enough, you can watch the Flintstones smoking cigarettes and saying, hey, you should buy, were they Winston? I don't remember.
It was Winston, yeah.
It was Winston, okay. Hey, live right down the street is where they used to be made. They might still be, for all I know.
I will point out that is more recent than you think. Brian already brought it up. What show are you watching with Sam?
Heroes?
Did you know that's a product placement show?
Sure. Heroes, like, we want the Nissan Versa.
Yes.
We need to drive across the country in the Nissan Versa. And then I remember back in the day watching the first episode of season 2, and again, we haven't even got there. This is how much this has stuck with me. In season 2, episode 1, Claire goes to her dad, and he's like, well, I've got something for you. And she's like, you got me the Rogue by Nissan? And he's like, only the best for my pumpkin. And he looks at the camera, and I'm like,
goodness
really?
Gracious.
Bruh.
Really? It's like, it was like 2005 or 2006. It felt like it was a little late to be doing this. But, okay.
And also to point out that when they were doing all that, when it went to commercial, that car commercial would play.
Yeah.
So when
Sure.
it played right at when it got to the commercial break.
Enjoying the show? You want to be like Hiro Nakamura? You too can drive a blue Nissan Versa.
Lord. Okay, there are trends in all of these things that were just bad.
Sure.
That's why when we were talking about video games, we didn't talk about the brown era. Brown and gray. Everything was brown and gray. Because that was more of a trend, not a design decision that, got or improved upon eventually. Anyway, so let's go to movies. The thing about
a lot of
movies now is that the editing style part of this I blame on the Bourne Identity. But especially for action scenes, the Bourne Identity had a very specific Bourne Identity editing style for the fight scenes that worked for that movie specifically, because that was the style they were going for that movie specifically, and it was a stylistic decision. And then it spread to like every action movie where action scenes were cut just constantly, just every was a different camera angle, and you could never track what was going on.
Where you feel like you, the viewer, are in the fight and getting slapped around.
Exactly. And that editing style has like spread to all movies. It's like the TikTok editing style where everything is super fast all the time. Just keep your attention. And it's really kind of obnoxious. But because that's how a lot of modern movies are, older movies seem kind of plodding and slow because there's, you know, long takes and explanations and dialogue. These kids today. And by these kids today, I mean younger directors. But, yeah. The main thing that I wanted to talk about with movies are special effects. Like, a movie whose special effects still hold up to this day. They're not perfect, but it's Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Like the scene where they're running and the Gallimimus herd is running past them. That looks a little ropey by modern standards. But like the T-Rexes and the Raptors, oh, dude, those still look like they're in the room. And part of that is because for a significant portion of it, they are. The first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Special effects in that are beautiful still.
Yeah, they hold up really well.
A lot of that is because so much of it was done practically with CGI helping. As opposed to, like, I don't want to jump on the modern Marvel trend, you know, people talking crap about modern Marvel movies, but modern Marvel movies are the biggest movies that do this. Everything is just done on a green or blue screen and we'll fill it in later. And then they don't want to pay the special effects houses enough money or give them enough time to get stuff done. So we get stuff that looks ropey. So when you hear people say, why could they do this in, 2004, and then in modern days we get this? Well, it's because they paid them enough back then. Because that movie had like 100 special effect shots that had to be done. This one has 4,000.
Yes. And it doesn't have a development cycle that's 40 times longer.
Exactly. But also,
well, I think kind of a example comparison might be looking at the Lord of the Rings trilogy movies, and looking at the Hobbit
versus the Hobbit.
too.
Yep, I was gonna go there next. Like Legolas did some cool stuff in the Lord of the Rings, and really only that thing where he got onto the horse in the second movie, which I still haven't quite figured out what the hell that was all about. That's the only part that looks a little weird in that entire 3-movie series, whereas everything he does in the Hobbit movies, Alex Shaw from School of Movies podcast coined the term millennial rubber. And yeah, Legolas at several points in the Hobbit movies just looks like he was replaced by a dude made out of rubber. And he does things that look completely unnatural and inhuman, and then there's a cut, and then it's Orlando Bloom again. It's like,
Well, and one thing as well is older movies tend to use as practical effects. And practical effects, I think you are limited in terms of the special effects and what it can do, but it is way more realistic in the final product than if you go digital. Digital
number
does take
one,
time.
Yeah, I mean, number one, because the practical effect is going to be lit the same way as everything else on the set with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be there in front of the actor for them to react to, rather than a tennis ball on a stick.
Yeah.
They're like, trust me, this is going to be a really messed up looking monster when the movie comes out. But yeah, but it's a tennis ball. Shut up. No, it's a monster. Rawr. See, scary monster. Look, we'll draw a scary face on the monster, or on the tennis ball. There.
And I think that was a big complaint people had about the prequel trilogy of Star Wars was there was so many special effects, whereas the trilogy did not. And I do agree that there are...
I mean, CGI versus practical.
Yeah, CGI versus... is like Attack of the Clones. The clones... I mean, it was awesome seeing like hundreds and hundreds of clones marching everything, but at the same time, you're like, those are all CGI. They've got janky kind of walks and everything.
I mean, it's notorious in the first movie about how Jar Jar Binks it's really hard to tell where he is because poor Qui-Gon Jinn is trying to look at Jar Jar and he can't because Jar Jar's not really there. So if you watch where his eyes go,
they did their best. They did their
best.
Yes.
It was
like
new.
The actor, like Ahmed Best, was that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
He was wearing a little bit of a costume, and he was wearing a little hat that had like eye stalks where Jar Jar's eyes were supposed to be, so that Qui-Gon could look in the right place. But yeah, it didn't always work.
Yeah.
Wait, was he actually there in on the plates? Did they digitally remove him? Was technology able to do that back then?
Yeah.
Because I know for Gollum,
I think they put the digital stuff over him.
Well, because I know for Gollum, because Gollum was the next big, fully digital character. They would do
Gollum was motion capture, right?
Yeah. Well, he started out as the same thing where it was they were going to do him full digital, and then they decided that Andy Serkis's stuff was just too good and how he moved and how he interacted. So they went in and I think they just digitally removed him, and then they used his motion and everything, and they just put Gollum over top of him. But yeah, they motion captured.
So Andy Serkis was on. But you're saying Andy Serkis was on set too?
Yeah. So originally, they would do a pass with Andy Serkis in the white gimp suit,
right,
with the hobbits, and then they would do it again with him not there.
Trying to mirror what they just did.
Yeah, and they were gonna use the second one.
That sounds like it'd be awkward.
For the shots, so they could just insert Gollum essentially. But they found that the other actors were more believable when there was an Andy Serkis there for them to wrestle with or talk to or whatever. So they ended up using the plates with him in it and digitally erasing him and adding in Gollum. And
because there's part where he actually does the spit thing where there's he spits and it's his spit that's coming out of Gollum. It's literally Andy's spit coming out, and they just removed him digitally somehow, and they stuck Gollum on it. They just the animators or the CGI people took Andy and they just digitally did whatever he was doing, and then they just stuck Gollum after they removed him physically and put the digital copy on.
Yeah, and he was also motion captured for facial animations and whatnot. So yeah, he was there on set and he was motion captured. Whereas Jar Jar, I know they had Ahmed Best on set with the stupid hat on, but I didn't know if he was in the shots and was digitally removed.
I think he would sit there and watch the special edition stuff to see what it is. But I think he was on set dressed as they would do the scene with him, and then they would redo the scene without him. I think that's what they did. But like I said, he was there dressed up and everything with the little ball on top. It was like, this is where my head is. So make sure you talk to the ball. And that's where your eye line needs to be. And then they would redo it without him but he would like say off to the side, he'd be doing his lines, but everyone would just have to kind of be like, all right, I was looking up here and all this stuff. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. And remember, he was the first fully digital character, like, that wasn't just like a single set piece. The first digital character, like, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So of course things were gonna be a bit ropey.
Sure, Jar Jar had to stumble so that Gollum could crawl.
Could crawl,
But
my precious. But like before that, we had guys in suits, and depending on the budget and who they got for that, sometimes that could be amazing. Like the Predator from the 80s. Are you serious? Like that thing was terrifying. Who was that? Sorry, no, not the Predator. Predator. Yeah, there we go. Kevin Peter Hall. Yeah, there we go. Here's a fun fact. Did you know originally Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be the stunt guy that was standing in for the Predator?
I think I heard that.
Really stupid, like, red costume that was not representative of what the Predator looked like, but, like, he didn't seem to understand that. And he's much shorter than Kevin Peter Hall, so he walked, and they got a big dude who knew what he was doing and redesigned the monster and the costume and whatnot, and that's how we got the Predator. Thank goodness.
And he doesn't do any splits for no reason?
He does not do any splits for no reason.
Okay.
He doesn't even do any splits for good reason. There are just no splits whatsoever. But yeah, like the Predator is completely practical. And is one of the most iconic things ever. So it's not like, well, CG's just better. No. CG. See, the problem is movie studios want to just shoot it now and we'll get the digital effects people to fix it later. And like, again, that's the big difference between the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. Is the Lord of the Rings trilogy was in like pre-production for 3 years? Is that right?
It had a long production cycle.
It had at least one. You think they showed off this is what we wanted to do in terms of like the Helm's Deep was this giant model, and they were fishing it, doing it out. But I think it was a year and a half was them filming the 3.
Well, yeah, but I mean before that, like it was in pre-production for a very long time.
And he had a lot of the ideas of what he was going to do and everything kind of there. And then when they said, well, it's going to be 3 movies, like,
oh, here we go.
Realize
pre-production for Lord of the Rings trilogy lasted approximately 2 years. Okay. But that's 2 years of making armor and making the bigatures and training fighters and stunts and, refining shots that they're going to do. And then The Hobbit pre-production was nothing. Not literally nothing, but it was mostly nothing. Because it wasn't supposed to be a Peter Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Hobbit trilogy pre-production was... Oh, here we go. So roughly 2.5 to 3 years total, but that was a different movie. Peter Jackson had about 6 months of prep time.
Yep.
And it shows, like, those movies do not look as good. They're not as tight. They're kind of ass compared to the Lord of the Rings movies. And that's because they want to just get it done now. The effects people will fix it in post, and then we can shove it out. They don't want to spend the however much time doing effects ahead of time and working on the practical stuff and the pre-production and all that, because that's not making money right now. Damn it. We want to make money right now.
True.
And
a
it's
buck
just
in the
a
hand
trend.
is worth 3 in the barrel or something.
Something. Yeah. One Gimli is better than 13 of those other guys in barrels. You're gonna have to toss me. So yeah, like,
Tell the elf.
practical effects look well done. Ones, are just there, but ones that aren't as well done, you can almost always tell, oh, that was practical. Really? No kidding. The thing that looked like it was, hot glue that they heated up and stretched, oh, that was practical? You don't say. But like, I love John Carpenter's The Thing. It is one of the best, like, horror movies ever. Full stop. Don't at me. And the effects are brilliant, but you can tell that they're, they're rubber stuff that's just sort of being shaken around. They still look really good, but you can tell, like, because the effects budget for The Thing, for what they needed to do, they needed way more money. But no, they weren't going to give it way more money. And it flopped in the box office, so hey. But it is one of the best movies of its kind ever made, and we didn't know that at the time. Cult classic.
There was one more thing.
Yeah, what else you got?
Mine was that older movies were just the solids, the movie itself, and that more recently there's been a withdrawal from doing original stuff and it being more sequels. So, for example, I'm gonna call out Disney for both. So, I grew up in the Disney decade. So in the Disney decade, this was, yeah. So you're talking about The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. 4 of the most iconic movies of Disney. None of them were sequels of the other. It wasn't, this one did so well, we're gonna do. Now they did direct a VHS of those, but they weren't they didn't come out in theaters. And again, that is its own, soapbox to preach on.
Yeah.
But more recently, there has been a withdrawal from doing original stuff and a greater push towards doing a sequel. So you had Frozen, which again was a great film on its own, and then we've got Frozen 2, and then already in the works is Frozen 3. Which Toy Story are we on now?
5.
Yeah.
Which was way better than it should have been. So it was way better than 4.
So we're up to going on 3 Frozens, 5 Toy Stories, 2 Incredibles. I don't even want to go to the Marvels because that would just be ridiculous. So it's very much seems like we are stepping away from doing original movies and a focus more towards sequels has sort of been the thing I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Now,
going on.
That's because modern movie studios, there's no such thing as like a mid-range budget anymore. Everything has to cost hundreds of millions of dollars and has to make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, or else it's a massive failure. And we don't get like cheap, well, not cheap, but we don't get non-blockbuster films anymore, it seems. That's just not a thing. And which means they're only, if they're gonna pump that much money into something, they need to have their like guarantee that it's gonna make money, and you do that with sequels. Video games are falling into that same damn trap where, you know, the AAA games are all sequels and they all cost way too much money and take years and years of time to make. And so we don't get new games anymore unless they're live service games that they can try to milk for years and years and years.
Now, I'm hearing you guys, but I'm going to make the argument that this is more cyclical. That we have seen this before, and then after a while, there's so much pushback that I think in the 90s and early 2000s, this diminishes. But let's not forget how many Rocky films were there, and I'm not talking about the Creed films. I'm talking about how many Rocky films there were.
How many plus a legacy sequel plus the Creeds.
How many and horror films? You know, Friday the 13th. You know, that sort of thing. There's a million of those. But even how many Land Before Times? I think there's like, no kidding, like 13 of those dang things. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's double
digit. But I think only like 2 of those came out in theaters.
Still, I'm saying I think that we go through a period where we start getting, like in Back to the Future, they mocked, you know, what was it, Jaws 12 or 13 or whatever. Martin sees the ad for it. So we see that, and then at a certain point, audiences are like, we're not giving money to this. And I think you're right. We grew up in an era where you saw a little more individual stuff, but the studios being motivated by money is a tale as old as time. Come out with an original film like Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park does amazing. Make 2 really lackluster sequels. Wait a while, then let's do a reboot and let's call it, you know, Jurassic World. I realize it's actually continuing in the same universe, but you see what I mean. The concept of a sequel is not new, and Disney has been harping more and more on it, but, and I still have a lot of other studios, and I do agree with Chewy. I think the root cause of it is, unless you are a small independent filmmaker, and we've seen some of that this year with like Obsession and with like the Chamber or the Back Room or whatever it is, where you have these smaller studios or these smaller filmmakers putting out a film and it's doing well. But those are basically what the Blair Witch Project was when we were younger. The like flash in the pan, and then you know what happens is, then we have to have the sequel Blair Witch films, where Hollywood never got the message and just said, this is profitable, let's make more, and it didn't. So I make the argument that this is cyclical, and at some point we'll get sick of this and we'll hopefully get more original stories, and the cycle will repeat for our children and our children's children.
I'm actually going to disagree with you there. I don't think it's cyclical. I think it's never ending. You guys know Hopalong Cassidy?
No.
No. Vaguely.
I mean, do you know the name Hopalong Cassidy?
Yes.
No.
Oh my
Vaguely.
God. All right, so Hopalong Cassidy, Movie Bob did a whole video about Hopalong Cassidy that I highly recommend everyone go look up. It is crazy. But Hopalong Cassidy, from 1935 to 1948, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is 13 years. How many movies do you think were made that were Hopalong Cassidy movies? Just throw out a number. 13
12.
years.
I'm saying 12.
Okay. Brian?
Sorry, what's that? I blanked out for a second there. What did you say?
Oh my God. How many Hopalong Cassidy movies do you think were made in the, what did I say, 13 years? From 35 to 48.
3.
3. Okay. Dirk?
I'm going to go high. I'm going to say 15.
15. Okay. So, if you add up all 3 of those numbers, you get 30. That's not even half. They made 66 Hopalong Cassidy Westerns.
So your point is that it's not cyclical.
Goodness gracious.
It's just that this is not new at all. This is always the way it's been.
Yeah. But the root cause of it, I think, the why we're seeing it, it feels so bad now, I think is because of what I said. Or at least that's a significant portion for the reason. But like 66, dude.
I guess that was also before home television. Like, how long were those? How long were those movies? Were they only like 45 minutes long, or?
Well, let's see. The first one was 60 minutes. Random next one from 41 was 79 minutes.
Oh.
And then the last one was 61 minutes.
Wow.
So
Well,
they're sort of
I'm
like what we
thinking-
would call TV movies now, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking from what I remember from Yesterworld talking about the Wizard of Oz production, that there were lots of directors back in the day of the big studios that their thing was you should only be filming a movie for, I think it's like maybe a month or 2, and then they would just rush. And the thought was volume over quality, quantity over quality, that you would fit, they would be pushing out movies left and right with the hope that one of those would be a hit. And they're not putting tons of money into the movies, but the thought is that one of these is going to be a great, amazing movie.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I want to point out that the original Dracula is only 74 movies, and that was from 31. Like, movies were a lot shorter back then.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
The Mummy was 73. All right, there, new mouse. Bride of Frankenstein was 75. Yeah, like, movies were shorter then, so just throwing that out there. It's not like, wow, they were only making half movies. No, they were movies. Also, every one of those Hopalong Cassidy movies, Hopalong Cassidy was played by the same actor, William Boyd. Seriously, though, it's way more fascinating than it sounds. You should look up Movie Bob's video about Hopalong Cassidy. He did like a longer version, and then he remade it as a shorter version. I watched the longer one back when it was new, so... But seriously, it's a crazy story. But yeah. I really think we've gotten off topic multiple times. So that's okay. We're having fun.
Yeah,
here.
several times.
I will say, going back to, again, old versus new, and kind of analyzing the old stuff versus now, music in films, and to a lesser extent TV shows, but I feel like there was more of a push toward original scores in movies in the 80s and into the 90s, where a film's score was something that was created for that movie. Think about Star Wars, think about Jurassic Park. Not just looking at you, John Williams, also thinking about Danny Elfman, some of those classic songs that we associate with a film because they were made for it. And then there started to be this switch. Think about a film or a movie like She's All That, where the soundtrack for the movie is basically the pop songs that were popular at the time. And it was a lot
Oh,
easier to produce that way because you didn't have to write the music for the most part, you know?
well, there's always been the both of those things happening.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That it depends on the movie and what they're willing to do. Because some, like Wayne's World, for example, they're not looking at making original music. It's we're just going to refer to stuff that's pertains to our time period and everything.
Yeah.
Where because I'm thinking of Encanto and some of those other, they've got original music that's just amazing.
Well,
Original music.
those are musicals. That's a whole different
Well, I'm just saying
thing.
that, but they're coming up with that. There are still movies that have original music to it, but you also like. I do agree that there are some where it's like we do want to have music that pertains to this. I'm thinking of the third Star Trek, Abrams Star Trek movie, where it was like we're going to throw um, what are the Beastie Boys have one of their songs playing.
Yeah.
That's weird. But yeah, like there have always been the types of movies that have scores and types of movies that have soundtracks. Like, oh, what is that? Like "Rock Around the Clock," which is an old ass song. Was either I don't think it was written for, but it was used in some sort of movie and became like a cultural rebellion song. "Rock
Hmm.
Around the Clock." Yeah, like that's a thing.
I didn't know it was written for a movie.
I don't think it was written for a movie, but it was used in a movie.
Hmm.
I think. I can't remember the name. I can't remember which movie it was, but it was some sort of. Do, do, do.
Well, there
Go
is a
Holiness.
Rock Around the Clock movie.
So yeah, it was. Is it that song? I could be getting the wrong old ass song. I don't think it was. Oh, Blackboard Jungle. Yeah, yeah. It became an anthem for rebellious 1950s youth after it was included in the 1955 film Blackboard Jungle. There we go. So that was, the 50s. Not that I'm saying you're. I mean, all the Marvel movies have their own scores. It's just that they. A thing that I have noticed going along with what Brian's saying is we don't seem to get scores that like stick out anymore.
Yeah. There are some notable exceptions. I have played Portals from Endgame on my Alexa quite a lot in the last couple of years. But that's a
That
matter of
yeah, I was gonna
personal.
say that's like the last thing that I
That was
remember seeing where the
2019.
score was that stuck with me.
Yeah, that was 2019, so that was 7 years ago.
Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, all through the 90s there were and the 2000s there were I had a bunch of soundtracks on like tape and then CD cuz that was, the Crow soundtrack. Are you kidding me? The Crow City of Angels soundtrack, that was better than the movie.
Sometimes that would be the case. I'm trying to remember. I had some soundtrack to I think it might have been The Fifth Element, and some of the songs you just get lost in the dialogue and the action. And when I was just hearing them, playing them in my car on a CD, back in the day, I was like, oh, I never noticed those notes before. So,
Wait, was that the score or the soundtrack?
uh, well, I bought the soundtrack and it had both the score and as well broken down into tracks.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh yeah,
I think
Well,
that doesn't.
that was one of the people at church that I go with. He pointed out that a lot of the people who make the big soundtracks like John Williams and all those, there really just aren't people doing that anymore. Not to say there aren't people doing it, but there's just not as many of them doing it, and they're just not being
They're not
recruited
being
as
held
much to
up.
make those.
I don't think they're not being held out
Yeah,
as names.
I think that's another side effect of the way Hollywood makes movies now, is they want you to focus on the brand and the franchise. Like, who was it? Anthony Mackie has complained about Marvel in the past that you don't have movie stars anymore. You have franchises. And I think that applies to like the people who write the music too. Like before you had, the John Williams and the Hans Zimmers and the Howard Shores and any of a dozen others that I could look up, but I'm not gonna because that's not the point I'm trying to make. But nowadays, it was on the movie, music by John Williams. Oh my God. And nowadays they're like, hey, this is from Marvel. Hey, this is a Star Wars. Sure, it's got these actors in it, but this is a Marvel, and that's where all their focus is. That, and with streaming and music, again, streaming has changed everything. You don't get the, oh, here I got the score for whatever. It was released and it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And now it's just, okay, we've added it to Spotify. Move on. Dude, Hollywood sucks.
Yeah.
They really
This
have.
Has been really inspiring.
They really have sucked a lot of the art out of this, haven't they?
Yeah. Looking at my list, this is basically everything that I thought of for these categories. I don't know if you guys still had anything else.
Writing and pacing conventions change. The other thing I want to point out is that dialogue has changed. Some dialogue has changed. Older movies were more, for lack of a better term, theatrical with their deliveries. And then, we got people like Kevin Smith and Pulp Fiction. The jackass who never shuts up about saying racist things. What?
Quentin Tarantino.
Tarantino, yes, there we go. Quentin Tarantino, who wrote dialogue that was much snappier and sounded more realistic. And it sort of caught on with a lot of directors that, we can just do that? And so they did. And so, there's a very distinct difference between movies made before Clerks and Pulp Fiction and movies made after Clerks and Pulp Fiction. And movies originally were just stage plays that they pointed a camera at when the whole thing of moving pictures started. And then eventually they figured out, oh, wait, we can move the camera. Holy crap. And that's when the artistry took effect. They figured out if you stop recording and then change something and then start recording again, it looks like it just transmogrified. Holy crap. And special effects were born. But it kept its theatrical way of speaking for a very long time. Longer than you would think. Which again, that doesn't make them bad. That's just how movies were made back then, And when I say back then, I mean even like stuff from the 70s is gonna sound like, who are they talking to?
Mm-hmm.
That's so fly, man.
What? Oh my god! Somebody punch Dirk. But yeah, the whole point is, like, if you're gonna, wait, are we done? We should wrap up, right?
I think it'd probably be good to wrap up.
The whole point is, if you're going to try to judge these older things, there are things you have to take into account. Like, hey, that's racist. I mean, yeah, but you could say that in a movie back then. Oh, that looks, fake. Well, that's because it is. This game doesn't tell me that I can throw things upwards. Well, you were supposed to read the manual. This TV show is paced in a way that makes me want to gouge my own eyes out. Well, you should have tried watching it on television when that was the only chance you ever would have gotten to see it. You would have paid attention, and not cared.
True.
They're just there are extenuating circumstances that, if you want to sound intelligent and take these things into account, it's fine to say I don't like this because whatever, but you can't say it's bad because whatever. Like, there is a huge difference between this is bad and this isn't for me. And with this modern age of anybody, including, 4 idiots that played Magic together in college, can just make their own show and just say whatever the hell they want. Like, we really need... Stop listening to Joe Rogan, is what I'm saying. Like, we really need to... we need to bring some sort of media literacy back. Oh, I've ranted myself into a corner and I've lost my point. Someone else talk.
I agree. I think, when we're talking about things that have existed for a couple decades, it's fine to try to analyze them. And the people that are doing that may not have been around when those things were originally created and may not have that context. Time marches on. When I saw the Odyssey last weekend, and, we are allowed to look at Odysseus and be like, okay, in the time when he might have lived if he was a real person, this was the view, and this is how he treated his wife and these other women that he met along the way home, and da-da-da. We are allowed to try to apply that, but at the same time, saying, oh, it's bad because it's old, he's a bad person because of what he did, even though that was, what happened at the time, or these were the customs at the time, objectively, that's where you start to run into trouble, because culture will continue to shift. And there's something that we're doing now that in 10 years it'll be like, can you believe Brian did that? Holy cow, how have they not strung him up about that since then? The way he ate his cheese is just unacceptable. So, and luckily...
Actually, that's true now, if you've ever seen Brian eat cheese.
Yeah. Luckily, nobody has caught me on camera eating cheese. but sure, analyze, critique, but at the same time, the fact that something has been around for a while and it was done, especially with, I still go back to video games and special effects in movies and all that, they were hitting the ground. We got Jar Jar so we could have other stuff. We got Dragon Quest with its clunky sound and graphics and all that, so that we could have Dragon Quest 11, which is just butter smooth. We had to go through these steps, and simply being, as Chewie said, something not being for you does not mean that it's bad, which is a hard thing to sell to people sometimes these days, where they want to be very objectively like better than everybody else. So, yes, that's my takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah, Okay, I think I got it. Bad is always bad, and we're not saying if you're young then don't try to evaluate old stuff. That's gatekeeping and that's a dick move. But what I'm saying is, if you're young and you want to try to evaluate old stuff, try to learn where it came from. Like, I didn't like Mario 3 because it was unfair and hard and it didn't have a save function, is one thing, but Mario 3 is bad because it didn't have a save function. Well, now you're an idiot. Like
Yeah.
Say have fun with all the old school arcade games.
You're right.
Man, I remember seeing Pit Fighter back in the day and thinking, this is the pinnacle of graphics because they actually looked like real people.
Yeah, nobody remembers that Pit Fighter did it way before Mortal Kombat.
I remember, and so do cookie companies.
Just don't.
Rage
if
all
you
the
want to
way.
play it now, don't emulate the Super Nintendo version. Go Genesis, or better yet, just emulate the arcade version, which is the best. But if you don't have access to that, go Genesis. The Super Nintendo version was. See, that's one. It's bad. It's broken. It's unplayable. It's bad. The Genesis version is playable. It's still bad, but it's playable and it's kind of fun. You know, bad is bad, but some things aren't bad. And if you say they're bad, you're wrong. Not all opinions are valid. That is a problem with society in general these days. Everybody thinks their opinion is valid. That's why we have anti-vaxxers, because they think their opinion that vaccines are bad is just as good as the scientific fact that it's not. And those people are idiots. You see what I'm saying? Also, I forgot to throw this out at the beginning, but happy extended Pride. Because we forgot to say Happy Pride during Pride Month. We have extended it for 2 months.
Right.
We are now in August. So happy extended Pride, Pooligans. I love you all. We should stop this though. I'm just ranting now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This was an awesome discussion, well worth the time we put into it to get here. At one point, we said last week that we were never going to do this because it was a cursed topic, but here we are. We did it, and then next week we'll get into something else. Maybe some more Zelda, maybe some Final Fantasy, maybe something else entirely. Maybe we'll not be like Hollywood, and we will have an original thought. Oh,
Probably not though.
but. For my final thought, I'm doing all right. I is still being a bit eye-ish, but I should have an update. Maybe by next week after I have another procedure done. But I'm gonna go ahead and go, and I will see everybody later.
All right. Night, B.
Right.
Good night.
Next.
All right. For my final thought, Bandcamp started this week. So Trevor's been doing Bandcamp, and yeah, the summer is rapidly coming to an end for me. Thankfully, I've got lots of stuff done. I was talking to Chelsea, and we were both being like, wow, there was a big list of stuff that we were hoping to get done. We actually got through a sizable chunk of that list. So, yep.
Nice.
Summer's coming to an end. And with that, I'm also out and about. So you guys have a wonderful night.
All right. Night, Zert.
All right.
How about you there, beardy man?
Let's see. Yeah, like you were saying, a lot of this stuff could just be chalked up to for games like design conventions. For TV and movies, writing conventions, whatever. Sometimes you get, we didn't really get into this, partly because the only examples that I had in mind for it were print examples, which you didn't get into. Sometimes the reason you would evaluate something differently now versus from back in the day is because you're the one who's different. Either because, your opinions have changed, or you've just grown up and you know more and you have better perspective. Like, I started reading the Dune series of novels when I was in middle school, and I didn't really understand the difference between a protagonist and a good guy.
Yeah.
That's something I did not understand until much later in my adulthood. It's like, oh.
Like, are there any good guys in Dune?
You could try to make a case for Duke Leto, but there's some
That's
some
fair.
touchy things in his history too.
Duncan Idaho, maybe? Oh, he did.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
Doesn't even matter.
He tries his best, even when he comes back later. Spoilers.
Like way later.
Yeah, way later. And sometimes it's because, I was a little kid during the 90s, so I thought the 90s rad aesthetic was actually rad, and now it's just kind of corny.
Yeah. Radical. I like the way that it seems like the identity of decades doesn't get established until later, except for the 90s.
Oh boy.
Like, we knew exactly what the 90s looked like as soon as the 90s started.
Yep.
Weirdly, it's the decades after that. It could just be because I'm old and don't think about that sort of thing. I don't know what like a 2000s style is. Like, you can go from like the 20s to the 90s, and each one has a specific like vibe, and then after that, it fades for me.
Yes, the things kind of start to run together, and I've read other things, people talking about that too. It's hard to pin down. It's like, is there really like a true distinctive 2000s aesthetic that's different from a 2010s aesthetic? And it's like, I don't know. Probably if you did a bunch of research and like serious research, you could come up with something. But it's not something that the average person on the street would be able to think of, which isn't the same as like if you were to ask someone on the street to imagine the 90s. Okay, now imagine the 80s. Now imagine the 70s. Like you were saying, from the 20s on up, people have these ideas in their heads that are pretty clear. So, I don't know.
Damn, that's eerie. Oh well. So is that it for you, my friend?
Yes, it is.
All right. For me, I have a functioning computer again. We didn't do a show last week because I realized it was not my NVMe hard drive that was dying. It was my power supply. And so when it came time to do the show last week, I was like, I don't think we can do the show because my computer smells like ozone all the time now. Let's take the week off because I don't want to explode. And now I have a new power supply and all is well. So, hey, you should come hang out on twitch.tv/themanapool on Thursday nights when we do the show, because, you can join us live. Or on other nights, because lately I've been streaming new roguelikes. I did 3 streams, because I did a day stream that first day I had a functioning computer again, of How Many Dudes, which was number 4, I think, on my February Next Fest demos write-up. It is a cartoony, bizarre, roguelike auto battler, but not like auto chess or Underlords. Not a strategic kind of auto battler. This is a ridiculous kind of auto battler. The premise came from a poll done a long time ago that the number of dudes that seem to think they could one-on-one take down a gorilla is way too high. Because no, you can't. You're gonna die.
Yes, you will die.
And how many dudes is it's a very stupid game. I love it. Like, every unit is called a something dude. You know, you've got your caveman dude, or your cyborg dude, or your ninja dude. And the merchant dude or the smuggler dude shows up to find you stuff. Like, everybody's a dude. Dude. Even in like release, like patch notes and whatnot, they're like the dev dudes. But it is a lot of fun. Like I said, I've done 3 streams of it, and I'm gonna keep doing that because it's so dumb and I love it. And I've also done a stream of Archon Soul, which is like Slay the Spire but with dice. And I mean that like in the best possible way. This was also on my lists for the February Next Fest. It finally came out and was less than $10, and I went, I'm gonna get that. And it's way deeper than I remembered. They've added so much stuff since the original demo. And yeah, because I was learning everything, my one run took a full stream. I was like, all right, cool, let's stop for the night, because it's stopping for the nighttime. But just like any other deck builder, as you learn things, it'll go a lot faster. But if you enjoy Slay the Spire, you should definitely look into Archon Soul. It's really well done. And it uses dice. You can put runes on the dice faces to have different effects. You can give the dice bodies to have different effects. You know, like, oh, if you don't use this and it's discarded, then it deals damage to all enemies. Hey. Or if this dice is used to, like, add a status effect, add an extra stack of it. You know, stuff like
Cool.
that. It's nuts. Just the sheer amount of stuff you can do in this game, and I've done 1 run's worth of unlocks, so there's so much more. So yeah, highly recommend both of those, or you can just come hang out on stream when I'm playing them and see them for yourself. Yay.
I had another thought while you were talking.
Okay.
Dr. Kynes, the Imperial Ecologist, is a good guy character.
He was a good. Yeah. Oh, he did.
Yeah. Yep.
Or she? What was she? A she?
Yeah.
In the new one?
In the movie, yeah. And I didn't even notice until I read a comment about it later after I'd seen the movie, and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I guess they did do that. Because that does not matter to the character.
At all.
At
Yeah.
all.
I only noticed because the original was Max von Sydow, or however you pronounce his last name, and so when the next version of the character was not Max von Sydow, because I think he's dead. I was like, oh, that's Dr. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Dr. Kynes.
Yeah, poor Dr. Kynes. I think Dr. Kynes died off screen in the book.
Oh, God, did he? It's been so long since I read Dune.
I think so.
Just found out later that he died?
Yeah, you just found out later. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's a bummer. Frank Herbert did not mess around.
No.
So with that, we're gonna stop now. But hey, don't forget, you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard. I did get another odds and ends posted today, as of this recording, and another one partially listened through. And I hit some sort of technical issue and went, I don't feel like dealing with this because I had to go dash soon. So, but I'm working on them. I have a working computer again. Also, now that the new Halo is out, with the campaign Evolved, I guess it's a remake of the first one. I'm seriously considering actually finally starting the Master Chief Collection and playing through all of those Halo games, which I would do on stream. So if that interests you, let me know, dear listener, and I'll move that up the list. Because I've seen so many like, the new Halo game, and I'm like, man, these games really look like fun. I've got them. They're on the my Steam account right now. I could just play them. But anyway, patreon.com/themanapool. You become a lifeguard. And hey, let me thank our mythic lifeguards: Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, Jake Jansons, Michael, Team Uhillis, how are you? Jason Kaus, Jason Doan, Casey, ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. And all of you at every tier. And all of you that listen or subscribe on Twitch. All of that good stuff. Thank you so much. You allow me to pay my massively increased rent. This month was the first of the new lease. And I'd forgotten. So I went to pay the rent a couple days ago and was like, what? Oh, piss. That's a thing to keep track of, listeners. So you don't think you did something wrong. I was like, did I forget to pay last month? Like, what's going on? No, I just don't know what day it is. It's fine. Is that it? I think that's it. So this has been episode 758 of the Manapool. If you have any thoughts that are more coherent than where we ended up on evaluating older stuff in modern times, then by all means let us know in the Discord, send us an email, leave a comment on the YouTube video, whatever, because I'm always fascinated to hear other opinions on these sorts of things. So yeah, especially in the Discord, go join the Discord. The link is down there wherever you're watching or listening to this. The link is down there. Go join in. We have a very nice little community there. Yay. But okay then, so this has been, what did I say? Episode 758 of the Manapool. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and get off our lawn.